Hello everyone. In the previous video we have seen how to generate and detect the pulse amplitude modulation signal and also the pulse width modulation signal. Now in today's video we are going to see one of the pulse modulation technique, that is the pulse position modulation signal, and also how to generate the pulse position modulation signal. Before entering into the concept, let us see what is the definition of pulse position modulation signal. So, this pulse position modulation signal is nothing but the position of the carrier pulse will change according to the amplitude of the message signal variation. We can refer it as a pulse position modulation signal. Now if you observe this waveform, how we can obtain this PPM signal? Since we are having the modulating signal and also the pulse carrier signal, first of all, with the variation in the amplitude of the message signal, the carrier pulse width will be changed. Okay, for suppose here this amplitude is low, so here the pulse of at this point the pulse is present, so the width of the pulse will be minimum. Next, the pulse, here the pulse is present, at this point this amplitude is varied. So what we have to do, we have to compare the present amplitude with the previous amplitude. If it is high, at that case the width of the carrier pulse will be increased, or else the width of the carrier pulse will be decreased. So this is seen in the previous video how we have generated the PWM signal. So from this we have to generate the PWM signal. Thereafter we have to generate the PPM signal from the PWM signal. So this is the procedure we are going to follow in order to generate the pulse position modulation signal. Now, first of all, we have to generate the PWM signal. So, this is the circuit that is used in order to generate the PWM signal, which is simply a 555 timer circuit. And how we have generated this PWM signal, we have seen in the previous videos. So, from this, we will generate the output of the signal, that is a PWM signal. This PWM signal is directly applied to the input of PPM generator circuit. Now let us see what is the PPM generator circuit. So this is the PPM generator circuit, which consists of a 555 timer which acts as a monostable multivibrator and also differentiator circuit, that is a capacitor C and R. Okay, so here the input to the capacitor that is applied is a PWM signal, which is nothing but a pulse signal with varying in the widths. Now what the capacitor will do, as we know that the capacitor does not allow the sudden change in voltage. So if it allows, it will present the spikes. So whenever this sudden change in voltage is applied to the capacitor, this output of the capacitor will have only the positive spike and the negative spikes. Okay, so both the positive spike and there and negative spike will be there. These positive spikes will bypass through the diode because of this forward bias condition, whereas this negative spike will applied as a trigger to this monostable multivibrator. Whenever this negative pulse is applied as a trigger at this monostable multivibrator, at the output we are having a pulse signal. That is, whenever the trigger is applied, this output we are getting a pulse signal. In this way we are generating a PPM signal. Now let us see how the waveforms will be. So here this is the PWM signal that is applied to the capacitor. So the capacitor, we are having a positive spike at this point, leading edge, and the trailing edge we are having a negative spike. Again positive spike and negative spike. Now what the diode will do, the diode is used in order to bypass this positive spikes, that is the leading edge spikes will be passed through the diode, whereas this trailing edge spikes will applied as a trigger signal to the 555 timer. So this presence of the trigger signal will simply indicate the pulse signal at the output of 555 timer circuit. So this is how we are going to generate the PPM signal from the PWM signal. So in brief we can say that in order to generate the PPM signal, we need two 555 timer circuits and also one differentiator circuit. One 555 timer circuit is used in order to generate the PWM signal, and the other 555 timer circuit, with the help of a trigger application, we can generate a PPM signal. This is where we are going to generate the PPM signal. Thank you.